Welcome to A Time to Care the Caregivers podcast. I'm Isabel your host. Today we have Amy Temperley here with us. She is the founder and CEO of Aging Cool. Isn't that a cool name? She has extensive experience in nonprofit agencies and geriatric care. She's a strong innovator, collaborator, leader, presenter, coach, you name it. She does it, all of it. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
What do you do? Like, what do you like the most about the work you do?
Oh, goodness. So, what I like the most about the work we do is that it is the positive side of aging. I think so often we talk about the hard stuff, and there are positive gifts to getting older, as well as opportunities to continue to learn and grow and have meaning in your life. So, our company, Aging is Cool, we're a wellness company, and we do all different kinds of classes. We do fitness, lifelong learning, brain games, trivia, music, art, predominantly go into senior living, but we also support caregivers by going into private homes and working with individuals at home to help them stay engaged in their world and to find joy, right? It's all about finding joy. After the basic needs are met, we all need the joy, the purpose, and the meaning.
I've always said that I want to age so I can go back to wearing diapers. And I don't think that is well received among
It's
people.
probably not the common interest. Most of us don't want to do that.
I don't want anybody cleaning me, but I think it would be convenient.
That's true. That's true. It'd be very convenient. You get more done in a day.
Tell us about why movement is so important.
Well, movement is really the key for everything, right? So, the way our bodies are designed, they were designed to thrive on our blood flow, our oxygen, our ability to digest, our ability for our brains to think. All of that is tied into movement. And back, hundreds of years ago, before we got to this more sedentary lifestyle, movement was a very normal part of our day. You moved because you were working in the garden. You moved because you were tending to the animals, because you had to walk to town. But because now we live in this different, technology-based world, we've all stopped moving our bodies, and it has really distinct impacts on both our mood and our health. And so it's really crucial to well-being that we're moving our bodies in whatever way that feels good to us.
So what do you find is the easiest for people that haven't moved in a while?
I think you start with incremental pieces, right? They say an adult should exercise, 150 minutes a week or take 10,000 steps a day to be healthy. Well, for one, I've got a back injury and I've got problems with autoimmune illness. So for me, it's finding small ways during the day to move my body. That might be taking the stairs. That might be going and walking around the yard. It might be, I've been known to do squats in the shower. It might be, but whatever those small ways that you can put it in there. So we often feel pressured to follow some sort of rules. It's just about moving more. One of the easiest things to do is to set a little timer on your phone, and once an hour, just get up and march in place if you can. Or if you can't stand, just to move your feet up and down in place and maybe lift your arms and stretch your neck. So just trying to find little ways to add it back in. And then as you feel better and you increase your endurance, you can, hit that 150 minutes a week or that 10,000 steps. But for most of us, especially as we get older, that's really hard to do. So you've got to find the little ways to put it back into your life.
I find the 10,000 steps are really hard to do, even if you're young.
It's a lot. I mean, it is a lot. And so, I'll tell you what, one of the funny things my mother did, so she is 78 and she has a lot of problems with her muscles in her legs. When she makes food in the microwave, so that's 5 minutes, she just walks up and down the counter for that 5 minutes. And for her, that is a big deal, right? To be able to get that little bit of movement. So don't get so stuck on it has to be all these big numbers, or drinking 8 glasses of water a day. You do what you can in small increments, and every little bit actually makes a massive difference on your health. Every tiny little bit.
My sister moved to Merida and she would get tired walking a couple of blocks. And after 2 or 3 years of living there, probably, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years, but whatever the period of time, she recently did a 10K walk in wilderness. So she hiked for 10K and she was so proud of herself because her starting point was 2 blocks.
It's amazing. That's a really great accomplishment. And we don't realize that it takes time. I saw something the other day, and it was a gentleman talking about the components of healthy aging. And he talked about, eating right, exercise, getting enough sleep, working on your brain health, all that stuff. But the last one was time. And that the key is to do those small things over time, and that you will build up. You will build up. Not everybody's going to do a 10K, right? I will probably not do a 10K. But we can increase that and we can improve that. But it does take time. And so don't get discouraged about, okay, I can't walk across a room without getting short of breath. So start there. Walk half the room, and walk half the room for 2 weeks. And then the next time, increase it just a little bit. And you will find that your stamina begins to increase over time.
I find fascinating how the body works. And so what are good exercises that people can just... Because I know, for example, gardening, like that is a lot of movement, and that is... So what are unique ways in which you can move if you don't like movement?
If you don't like movement, yeah, that's the key, right? You have to find the things that work for you. So first of all, I would say you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to have weights. Obviously, there are lots of modalities that are really interesting, and particularly for older adults and caregivers that work really nicely. So seated yoga, seated fitness, those are nice things you can do. You can always find classes online. But you're right, movement can be gardening. Movement can be going for a slow walk in your neighborhood. Movement can be turning on your favorite song and just wiggling around the living room for a little while. It can be anything that gives you joy and happiness. And again, it doesn't have to be done standing. There are so many people who are physically fit who are wheelchair bound. You find ways to move your body in those simple things, and reward yourself. That'd be the other thing I would say. Okay, if I do this 15 minutes of movement, I can have that piece of chocolate, or I can have a hamburger for dinner, or whatever. Find something that gives you incentive. If you don't like doing it, give yourself a reward for it. But don't worry about what it is, what that movement is. I mean, I heard a fitness person once say, just wiggling your body, just doing this for just a couple of minutes is actually really good exercise. And it gets your stress out, and it gets the adrenaline out, and it releases cortisol and all those different things, dopamine, all those things that we need for a healthy body. So find whatever that thing is for you that makes you feel better and joyful about doing it.
I'm talking about joy. What are other ways in which caregivers and their loved ones can find joy?
Well, I've worked with caregivers for 30 plus years. I think the main thing is finding time for yourself, first of all, right? So whether that's an hour or 30 minutes or just these little bits, but then thinking about what really makes you feel good in that moment. What did you used to love to do as a child? Did you love to read a book? Did you like to color? Did you like to be outdoors, touching the earth? What are those things? And really hone in on what makes you smile and find a moment to do that. And, so often we get caught up in, well, I don't have time for that and I can't possibly do that. If you take the time to realize that it is part of a health and wellness plan for you, And for humans as a whole to be able to find joy and purpose in their life, find that. And it could be petting the dog. It could be having, the cat sit in your lap for 20 minutes. Whatever that thing is that makes you smile will give you back some of the energy and the momentum you need to go back into that caregiving role later.
You talk about purpose, and purpose is one of my values in the company. And a lot of people have asked me, like, well, you have a lot of purpose. Like, when you're a caregiver, that is full of purpose. And I always reply, like, yes, it is full of, like, yeah, you have purpose, but that purpose is going to end one day. Mm-hmm. And if you put all your eggs in one basket, if you put all your purpose in life in that caregiving basket, then what? When you're not a caregiver, then what? So what can you say about that?
I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is that caregiving is purposeful, but it's not always joyful, right? Not all of us have been put in a position of caregiving that we want to be in. And it may feel good to do it and it may be important to do it, but it doesn't always have to be your reason to be. So for me, purpose is about what is the thing that gives you joy when you wake up in the morning? What is the thing that you get up every day and you go, that makes me feel good about myself? And it may be caregiving for you, but you're right. At some point, that journey is going to end, realistically. And what's left of you afterwards? How do you continue to hold on to your essence? How do you hold on to the being of who you are? And that, I know it's hard because time is part of it, but purpose could be your spirituality. Purpose could be your pets. Purpose could be, reading a good book or doing something that feels good to you. And purpose, of course, is giving back, right? That's a part of it. We talk about volunteering and we talk about all of that. So even making preparations for later. Maybe you're journaling. Maybe you're writing down what those things are that when my caregiving journey is over, this is how I'd like to direct my life. This is the thing that I would like to be my next commitment. Or maybe your purpose is you just want to rest, and that's okay too. That's totally okay.
Yeah, I was talking with my team earlier today, and they were asking about recording this podcast. They asked me if I had recorded the legal notice for the video, like the video that goes out. And I was like, no. And they were like, you said you were going to do it on Monday. And I was like, I took Monday to rest.
Good for you.
I don't think my team was that excited.
No, probably not. Nobody else wants you to rest.
No, they were like, well, you have 1 week to deliver this. And I was like, okay. But I don't think we don't put value in resting. And I love that you do that and that you're saying that that is purposeful. And I want you to dig deeper into that.
For me, there's, there are components of our life that are so very important. And care for ourselves should be part of our purpose. And care for yourself can look like a lot of things. It can look like health and wellness. It can look like making sure that you have enough money or making sure your home is in good order, all of those things. But that opportunity to rest, to breathe, to reconnect to yourself is probably one of the most important things that we can do. And of course, there's a lot of research right now around meditation and mindfulness. And so there are tools out there to help you with that. I do think we also need to not get into rest doesn't necessarily mean a nap for an hour. You might not be able to get that. Sometimes that's just not realistic in the caregiving world. But could you take 10 minutes in a quiet room to breathe? Could you take, 15 minutes to close your eyes or to sit out on the back deck and just watch the birds? That's rest. And every little bit of that we can get that helps us regroup, helps us to be better humans, better caregivers, and better people in our world all around us. So it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial.
I love that. I love your reframe about by resting, you become a better human. Because I believe, and I think there's tons of research to back my belief, that women have been socialized to work nonstop. Our to-do list is so big that we never finish it. And we don't allow ourselves to rest. It's been a while, but I was listening to another podcast, and it's been such a long time that I don't even remember where I heard it. But it was regarding home organization and how dividing tasks at home would help. And the speaker was saying that she recommended that you needed it to be allowed to rest. And I think this new framework that you bring is like, yes, and that's and you can find purpose in resting, but because you're going to be better. So I love that.
Well, and I noticed something this morning in my own home that kind of surprised me. So I've always been very, like most women, very organized, get stuff done, take care of everybody. And I've been dealing with an autoimmune issue over the past year. And I looked at my house today, and it's a little bit cluttered. It's a little bit messy. It's not my normal. But part of that is because in the afternoons now, I have been sitting down for 30 minutes or an hour and trying to rest, breathe, read a book, deal with the fatigue that I'm dealing with. And as I looked around the house, I thought, none of this, it doesn't matter. Everybody's still getting fed, and I am a caregiver. Let me say that. I am a caregiver. My mother lives in the house behind me. I do her doctor's appointments. I do her medications. I cook her meals every day. I coordinate her care, all of those things. And in the scheme of things, the mess in my house doesn't matter. What matters is that I am taking care of myself. I'm taking care of the people I love, and that there is some semblance of, everybody's okay, we're all going to be all right, and that there's love going around, that we're here in this journey together, which is what caregiving's all about, right? Is coming together to meet all our needs as families and humans, using the word human again. And you have to stop and really think, is this a life or death problem? Is the clutter in my house a life or death problem? No. Is it bugging me? A little bit. But what's more important right now is the fact that I'm overcommitted, as many caregivers are, and you have to take that time for yourself, or tomorrow you're going to be so fatigued you can't get up, you're going to be irritable, you're going to be gripey, and something else is going to fall under the radar that you need it to do. And so just that, that little bit of time for yourself, whatever that looks like, can be life-changing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. And I think we need to start talking more about rest, because even the things, and you were mentioning, talking about movement, how we have these very high standards of the 10,000 steps and lifting heavy and whatever else is popular these days. I don't know what it is, but we have really high standards of things to do, and we're not prioritizing rest. Even though, like, the program that I follow for my workouts, like, she prioritizes rest. It's like you have to rest 30 seconds before you move into the next exercise. But even that, you're setting rest, and we don't prioritize rest in the rest of things that we do.
Well, and I love that's a really good analogy, is 30 seconds of rest before you move into the next big thing. So why not give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, set a timer. I mean, whatever it is that you need to do. But, you finish getting somebody up, you've bathed them, dressed them, given them breakfast. All right, now you're going to take 15 minutes for yourself. Have a glass of water, put on a fun song and dance to it. Sit down and close your eyes. Go sit on the deck and breathe some fresh air. And then you'll be more ready, and your body and your mind will be more ready for that next thing, because there's always going to be a next thing, right? A next exercise, a next thing you need to do. But if we can put that rest into chunks, we might actually be able to recover just a little bit our brain, our muscles, whatever the thing is, just recover just a little bit. And it's a hard lesson. I've had a really rough time with it. I mean, I'll be very honest, a really rough time with it. I can't do the things I used to do. I have to stop and sit and breathe and let my body recover. And as caregivers, it's not just your body. Even if your body feels like it's ready to go, your brain needs to have that time to process information and gel it in. And, that's how your memory works. That's how your brain clears itself up. It needs to be quiet. And so whether that's a good nap or 10 minutes of your eyes closed, it's really important that we do that.
I agree. So how can you find meaning in all of this? Because I know you've been struggling, so I would love to hear your perspective of like, hey, this is what I'm going, but I also find meaning.
I've always been very introspective. So, to some degree for me, the meaning part is about the lessons that I'm learning. I have not loved caregiving. I haven't. I mean, I'll be very honest. I love my mother dearly. We're good friends. I don't love caregiving. I don't. I'm a doer, a goer. I would rather be doing. And so for me, the meaning comes in what I'm learning about myself, what I'm learning about who I am as a person, maybe skills I'm learning that later I'll be able to use to help other people. And I use time and experiences to help me sit and think about who I want to be, who I want to be later when this journey is over. What does that look like later for you? What did you absorb from this? What did you learn about relationship? What did you learn about changing a diaper? What did you learn? What is all of that? And so there are things, every piece of our life is a journey, and a lesson to be learned. And that's kind of, when we started Aging is Cool, that was part of it, is we believe that as you get older, and you have all these experiences, it makes you better. And you understand your world better and you're more resilient. So for me, the meaning is about what I'm learning now and how I'm going to take that forward.
I love that. My I don't think I've shared this in the podcast. But my nephews are currently dealing with their own caregiving journey. Their dad is really sick with brain cancer. And for both of them, it has been really tough. My niece is 22, my nephew is 18. It's been a very long journey, a very hard one. And throughout that journey, I think this part of meaning, specifically for my nephew, can be very powerful right now, because trying to understand, and he's like, everybody's suffering so much. His grandparents, his dad, he's like, everybody's suffering so much right now. And I think putting that into perspective, like, what are you learning from this journey, could really help him figure out that he's learning something from this experience, the same as his father, his grandparents, his sister. Everybody's learning something. We often don't stop and consider that. So I know he doesn't listen to the podcast, but I'm gonna tell my sister to share this clip with him. What would you tell him about this journey to find purpose? Like, what are things that he can practice, say, think, that would help him find purpose in this journey?
Well, first, let me say, I mean, my heart breaks for him that he is so young and that they're going through this. And I know you were a very young caregiver as well. And so there's a different dynamic to that also. As an older caregiver, we often come with a lot more life lessons and things along the way that make caregiving, I don't want to say easier, but different, more informed in some ways. Goodness, that's hard as well. I would want him, first of all, to focus on his own self-care, to realize It's that stupid saying, and I know it's been said a million times, you put your oxygen mask on first, right? When you're taking care of somebody, that he needs to find a place to continue to be him and experience his world, and to continue to grow as a young man, right? But then also a reassurance that there are lessons, and there will be things that come out of this later that you cannot see right now. You just cannot see it right now. But once you're through the care, and once you're through the grief, which are going to go on for a little while, that's going to be there, that there are going to be lessons and things that come from that are going to expand you as a person, and that may translate into your work. It may translate into your love interests. It may translate into your family. It may just translate into the way that you float through the world. But there will be things that will be positive. And I can't tell you what they're going to be. And nobody knows what they're going to be until you get there. And that they're... And I don't know, I think so many people in this instance would turn to spirituality and what does it mean and what is grief about? And of course, there's lots of philosophers have talked about that for generations. I don't know. I don't know what suffering and all of that means in my world, but that there will be positive things that come from this in the long run. And your job right now is to take care of yourself and support your loved one as best you can. And the rest of the world can wait. And it will be there for you when you're ready. It'll be there.
I think I would have liked to hear those words when I was a caregiver at their age. And you say it breaks your heart, it breaks mine as well. Because at their age, I was experiencing a very different journey, but still a caregiving journey. I was still in that position of, hey, I am, and I have to put aside everything that is bugging me and push forward. And I think it was funny for me because when my dad would always be like, what is your plan for the next 5 to 10 years? So by the time I became a caregiver, I already had a plan for the next 10 years, which made things very easy for me. Yeah. Because I had a road to follow. Yeah. But I know that nobody else does that.
Yeah. Well, you best laid plans too, right? So you have these plans, and then you're sidetracked for this period of time. I, I just because you're a caregiver, you don't stop being yourself. And yes, you lose yourself to some degree. At the end of the journey, you're going to come out of this, and it's going to be you and you again. Who is that? Who is that person? What do you want to glean from this experience? Can you even, and it may be as simple as, all right, I've got to set aside my career plans for now because I need to take care of Dad. I'm going to do that for a little while. But you could still maybe be reading books that are going to help you in your career later. Or you could be taking a certification class online. Or I'm thinking career-wise. But you could still be continuing those pieces of who you want to be. But you're just spending more time in the planning process than the doing process. In those quiet moments, maybe you're thinking about, gosh, I'd really love to travel. Well, maybe when it's time to rest, you sit down and you research the places you might want to go, right? That gives you a purpose. That gives you something to look forward to. We all need something to look forward to. So just thinking about what that's going to look like later. And I know when you're in the midst of caregiving, it doesn't feel like it's ever going to end. And to some degree, you don't want it to, because you know that there's grief at the end of that. But there are new journeys after, right? And what does that look like for you? And what can you set now that will help you? And that could be purpose in itself, just preparing.
Yeah, and I think that's, people don't realize that either positive or negative things, they all end. And then we move forward to something else, something different, something we can enjoy better or not. But everything ends. And I find that grief, even within the process,
Yeah.
even through all of it, is meaningful because that is showing you how you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The grief process is powerful. You need to rest and you need to not go through this journey alone, whatever that looks like, right? So find your partner in crime and maybe you rest together or maybe you tag team. You've got to have that support system, and you will still need those relationships when you get to the grief phase and when you get to the rebuilding phase. Those connections that you're making now and those relationships that you're building now will be part of that journey for you. And so don't get so lost that you're alone in this, because it can't be done on your own. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my husband and my sister. And I'm lucky. I'm lucky that way because I realize not everybody has family to support. But, my sister jumps in when I say, breaking point, I need to go on a trip, I need to get out of here. And she comes to the house and she takes over and we get a break. The days that it's really hard for me and I'm just exhausted, I say to my husband, would you go over to mom's and just hang out with her for a little while? And he'll do that for me, and I'm not asking for much. I didn't ask him to cook her meal or change her bed or do anything. I just go sit with her for 20 minutes so that I don't have to. Those little relationships and those people that support you that way are crucial. Absolutely crucial. Paid or unpaid, whatever that looks like for you.
I think you have to build that network. Generations behind that network was built for you.
Yes.
Because you had these multi-generational households with all these people living in the same place, all these different families, and you had like several siblings with their children and their spouses and everybody living in the family home. But as time has passed, for me in particular, like I don't have any family or my husband's family in Fort Worth.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we have to be conscious about creating that network, about creating those groups of friends. And it is hard as a grown-up to build those.
Yeah, it's so hard to make friends as an adult. It really is.
But it's so important.
It is. It is. We've known this for a long time, that older adults, what social isolation does to them. But we really saw in COVID what it does to young people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to consciously create a network of friends. We're in a similar situation as we don't have children. And we don't have a big friend network. So it really is kind of just us, like this little group. And we've been talking a lot about how do we start to build that network and where can we reach out to people. Maybe it's meetup.com and we're making some friends out there, or maybe it's maybe we're making friends in virtual reality. Whatever it is, we're going to need that. We're going to need infrastructure and people in our lives, mostly because it's healthy for you, but also because most of us are going to end up in a situation very similar to this. So who's going to give you a break? Who's going to help you? Who could drive your mom to the doctor if you're not able to that day? What are the things that we can set up for ourselves? And it is a challenge, but it's something to think about before you get to the caregiving stage.
Definitely.
Instead of at the last minute when you don't have any time trying to make new friends. Yeah.
Do you want to be my friend and my caregiver?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'd love to be your friend, but I need you to come over and help me out. Yeah, it's a challenge, and it's the society we've built, right? I mean, like you said, back in the day, you had all the generations; they were all there. We have built a society that is isolated, and we need to remedy that. It's time to remedy that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all your bits of knowledge and sharing all the wonderful work that you do. Where can people find you?
You can find us at agingiscool.com. We've got information about the classes we teach. There's also free classes online. So if you do want to move your body, we do a stretching class and 2 free fitness classes on Zoom every week. And you don't have to register anything, just show up and you get a live instructor And it can be done seated or standing. So whether you're a caregiver or someone who needs care, you are more than welcome to join us. We'd be happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Amy. This was such a wonderful conversation.
You are welcome, my pleasure.
Hey, just for you to know, the content presented in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any affiliated organizations or sponsors. If you need additional advice, please contact the right partner for you.